Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson, and this is a special edition of the Gridiron Report as we're doing a position group by position group breakdown as we get closer and closer to the season, which is now just days away. We've already done several of them. We've done quarterback, we've done defensive line, we've done running backs, we've done linebackers, we've done outside receivers. Now let's take a look at the secondary, at the defensive backs. And this is, to me, this might tell the tale, this position. And then the next couple of groups I'm going to talk about here coming up will be the offensive line. That's going to be one of the last ones I do. And I think the secondary and the offensive line is where I have the most concerns in terms of depth. But let's stick with the secondary right now. The guys they brought in, I think you have to start with them because I think Tech fans are really going to enjoy watching these guys play. I think the coaching staff has really upgraded the talent by bringing in some really key players. And I think it all starts with Marquis Waters. Everybody calls him Muddy Waters up there. But Marquis Waters has been one of the better safeties in the ACC for the last 2-3 years at Duke. I mean, over 250 tackles there, tons of turnovers, pass breakups. He's a very versatile player. He was a highly rated player coming out of Florida. Just the fact that Derrick Jones, who's now the secondary coach at Texas Tech, was able to land him at Duke coming out of Florida, as heavily as recruited as Waters was a major coup for Duke at the time. And now Tech's, getting the benefit of that because Waters was looking for a new conference to kind of go someplace where he wasn't as well known, where he can really make a big splash so that he can get to that next level. And because he said bottom line, basically teams weren't throwing at him, were running away from him. And he wanted to come to a place like the Big 12 who throws the ball around a lot, where he can make a lot of plays and put a lot more like interceptions and stuff on his highlight tape to get to the next level. And then of course Derrick Jones is a guy he trusted. Getting to bring him over, bring Waters over to really be the captain in the secondary was I don't want to say it's as big of a deal as getting Tyler Shough on the offense, but it was along those lines for me when they brought him in. I couldn't believe what a big pickup he was. And when you see him, I think everybody I know in the media, photographer Stephen Chapman, when we saw him, like, holy crap, this guy looks like an NFL player. He's just built, he's stacked, but he's fast. So he's going to help you in coverage. He's versatile enough to, come up and be a big time problem for offenses and run support, but also cover slot receivers. Go straight up, man to man on slot receivers, Power 5 slot receivers. So that gives you an idea of how versatile he is. They're going to blitz him off the edge some when he's covering in the slot, and he got a sack in the Pandemonium scrimmage off doing that. Waters is also one of those guys that, like, when you watch him in practice, he's talking with younger players, kind of showing them stuff. He's talking with the coaches, trying to learn stuff, and kind of just, keeping things lively, talking smack with them, in a nice way, with the water boy, with the photographers, with the journalists. He's that kind of guy out there dancing, kind of keeping things loose, but also keeping people accountable and helping people out and trying to learn. So I've just been really impressed with Marquis Waters, needless to say, and I think he's going to be a huge addition for the secondary. But not only that, he also returned a kick for a touchdown in the scrimmage. So this guy can do a lot of things for your football team. And I know he only has one season of eligibility, but man, I expect him to make a big impact this season. And then another guy they brought in via the transfer portal, and this was kind of an interesting way they got him, but Reggie Pearson Jr. out of Wisconsin. And in 2019, he started all 13 games for the Badgers, all right? They went to the Rose Bowl. He was known as the most physical, biggest hitter on Wisconsin's defense, which that whole program is built upon being a physical team. Smash mouth, run the ball, and then physical defensive team that will hit you in the mouth. And he was known as the most physical dude. As a redshirt freshman, all right? He had over 60 tackles, couple forced fumbles, some pass breakups, and he's been very good in camp so far. Now, here's the deal. Why is he here, you ask? Well, he had an undisclosed medical issue, which basically the Wisconsin doctors did not clear him for the 2020 season, the COVID season, and then they weren't going to clear him back in the spring, and so he entered the transfer portal. He got cleared by a doctor, not a sports doctor, but just a doctor in general. I believe I don't remember if it was in Boston or where exactly it was, somewhere on the East Coast. But then also, the Tech coaches heard about his story. Coach Patterson, I think actually the strength coach Dave Scholes was one of the guys who heard about him too. And they talked with Pearson and learned about his story, and they weren't sure if he was going to be able to be cleared or not. But Tech doctors cleared him, and he's looked really good. I mean, he looks like the guy I saw on film from 2019. So what a huge addition to get a guy like Reggie Pearson, who has 3 years of eligibility. I think he's going to be one of the more favorite, like a fan favorite kind of players, one of the more physical guys we've seen around here in a long time. And I mean, I honestly feel like now Tech has its 2 best safeties at the same time together that they've had in quite some time. And then you still have Eric Monroe, who started every game for you last year, transferred in from LSU. He had an up and down year last year. I think a lot of people remember that missed play against Kansas State, but he made some critical plays at the end of the season last year and was one of the better players on your defense. So I like Eric Monroe, especially with. I'm not starting this video talking about Eric Monroe. He's the 3rd safety I'm mentioning. So, I think he could be a really key player for Texas Tech in terms of depth, in terms of experience, and then just ability. I mean, he was a 4-star guy coming out of high school. So, there you go. Your safeties transferred in one of the best guys in the ACC the last 2 or 3 years from Duke. Hardest hitter on a Wisconsin team that went to the Rose Bowl in 2019, and then a former 4-star guy, his 2nd year now in the program from LSU. So, is the talent upgrade the secondary? Yeah, But then you still have some guys, held over like Dadrian Taylor Demerson is a year older. He was a guy that he's a running back in high school. Now this is his 3rd year at safety. I know the coaching staff likes him, and I'm glad they have him for depth. He's a good football player. I don't know if he's as talented as those other guys in terms of as a safety, but I still like him. And then you go to cornerback, we start talking about, all right, you bring back Demarcus Fields, very experienced player. I think he's one of the better corners in the Big 12. He's a good cornerback. I know the coaching staff feels like if he has a good year, he could end up getting drafted. So that tells you, something there. I like Fields. He doesn't win every, 50-50 ball. He will get beat sometimes, but he'll also come up with a big interception against a Texas or Oklahoma. So, or Oklahoma State. I like Fields a lot, and I think it's really huge that he came back for Texas Tech for his super senior season. Adrian Fry also returns. He's listed as a backup cornerback. Are we going to see the freshman All-American version of Adrian Fry, or the one was really bad at safety 2 years ago and then really had a disappearing act last year, just didn't get on the field? So which Adrian Fry are we going to see? So there's been some good reports on him, but I'm definitely taking a believe it when I'll see it kind of feeling on Fry, or approach to Adrian Fry. But then they brought in 2 guys also, from Power 5 schools, experienced guys. I think they have a combined 18 starts between them at cornerback, bigger guys. This is what I really like is Rashad Williams was here in the spring, and he was easily the best cornerback in spring. Like, there's no doubt. Like, he had the most pass breakups. Marquis Waters was just bragging about what a good player he is when I talked to him before camp. But Rashad Williams comes over from UCLA. He played a lot there. 6'2", long arms. I asked him, your arms seem a lot longer than proportion-wise to the rest of your body. Do you have exceptionally long arms? He said, I sure do. Everybody always talks about it. And it comes up when you see in coverage, especially since, when you look at Texas Tech, the receivers he was battling in camp were 6'4", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and then 6'9" tight end. Tech has a lot of size on offense, so he was being tested. He held up. He was one of the guys who could hold up against that size because of those freakishly long arms, and him already being 6'2", 6'3". But then if that wasn't enough, Malik Dunlap, who missed spring because of a shoulder injury, he was back all fall camp, looked good. He was like, one of the main guys being tested again by that size. And he won some, he lost some, but he was definitely in there battling. Division I, Power 5 cornerback for sure. And the thing about him is he's 6'4", 215 pounds, which is really like, nowadays it's an outside linebacker, but really it's safety size. But he runs, and this is what they all say, and you're kind of like, does he really? But he runs and moves, and he has the hips of a corner, which is why he's been able to stay at corner. Previously in his career at NC State, where I think he had like 16 pass breakups in a couple years. He has 3 years of eligibility to remain. And then since he's been at Tech, I've seen it. I didn't believe it, or at least I'm skeptical when I hear that. It just seems like they're kind of hyping guys up. But then I saw him play. I saw him run. I saw him move, and he really does have the hips of a much small, and the athletic ability and the ability to contort his body in the air when battling for those 50-50 balls. He has the ability of a smaller guy, of a quicker guy, but he's 6'4", 215 pounds. So huge addition. Obviously, Tech doesn't really have that kind of talent at cornerback. Those guys are really augment, like what I said, the returning guys. And you have a couple of young guys, and Nate Floyd and Kobe Minor, that the coaching staff both like. And Nate Floyd is a guy I've liked. I've said this before, since, through the recruiting process. As soon as I first saw him on tape of high school, I was like, oh yeah, just sign this guy and play him somewhere. He's a football player. Because he played all over the field in high school. And Kobe Minor was really, I think he was more recruited as a safety, but he's shown a lot of promise at corner. So I think both these guys, and I know Nate Floyd has been cross-trained at both safety and corner, but those guys, when I've seen them, they've made plays in camp. So all the guys I mentioned, they are in rotation. And I know Kosai Eldridge is in rotation at Spur. However, that position's really evolved since Coach Patterson's been here. So it really means a different, like the definition of what Spur is, which is, the common definition is that it's a safety linebacker hybrid, but it really evolves and changes depending on the personnel they're playing and who you're playing at that position. You know what I mean? Kosai Eldridge is more of a linebacker type. I know they like to play, they'll play Monroe there some. He's more of a coverage type who can help out in run support. Jacob Morgenstern is another guy I really like at that position because he's a hybrid type dude. 6'4", 225. He's listed at linebacker on the depth chart, but like I said, this gets kind of clouded depending on the personnel, the situation, all that, in terms of how defensive coordinator Keith Patterson deploys those guys. But the secondary, how they hold up in terms of injury-wise, how they hold up against some of these Big 12 attacks they're going to face, and just how they play together and how quickly they mesh is going to be a big story for this team. I think it's going to go a long way towards, is this a 6-win team? Is it a 7-win team? Or is this a team that we're going to remember as maybe possibly winning 8+, We'll have to see. I think these guys are going to play a big role in that. But with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.